HarperCollins presents The Black Painting by Neil Olson, read by Emily Wu Zeller. 1. Last night she dreamed of the house on Owl's Point. Waning sunlight bathed the old brick face, and waves pounded the rocks below. Her cousins were there. James, whom she loved, and his sister Audrey, whom she despised. James tried to warn her of some threat hidden in the pines, but his sister only laughed. Audrey was grown up, looking as she had at her wedding, disheveled and slightly mad. James was the child he always was in her dreams, never older than 11, as if his life had stopped there. Though the dream disturbed Teresa, there was nothing odd in the fact of it. At her grandfather's request, she was returning to Owl's Point for the first time in 15 years. The train car swayed gently. Connecticut coast swept past the window. Rocky woods gave way to broad swaths of gray water and the dark smudge of Long Island. Streams ran through acres of marsh grass, and an egret took flight, white wings pumping. Sometimes it felt like Teresa had spent her life on this train, going back and forth to school, later to visit friends and professors still in New Haven. Before that, long before, were the trips to her grandparents in Langford. The house and grounds were a vast and beguiling world where she and her cousins burned countless hours, outside the normal flow of time. They built a tree fort in the big oak. They explored the inlet by the bridge in their canoes. They played epic games of hide-and-seek. There was no beach, but Audrey, against all warnings, would leap from the black rocks into the surf, just as she would climb the tallest trees, or slip out an attic window to crawl around on the slate roof of the mansion. No punishment or injury deterred her, and that recklessness continued into adulthood. It was Teresa and James who discovered the indoor secrets. The dumbwaiter that ran from the cold cellar to the master bedroom, by way of the kitchen, where you could fling open the door and scare Jenny, the cook. The hidden closet under the stairs, where they fell asleep one afternoon and threw the house into a panic. The unfinished room in the attic, the crawl space in the wine cellar, more places that she had since forgotten. Only Grandpa's study was off limits. Teresa looked forward to the trips to Owl's Point for weeks beforehand. They were the highlight of summer, or any season, until they abruptly stopped. No one else left the train at Langford. The platform was short and broken. Only 8 cars were in the lot, none of them her grandfather's green Jaguar. Teresa remembered that he no longer drove, so she looked for Ilsa. Had they forgotten she was coming? That seemed unlikely, but 10 minutes passed without any sign of a ride. She reached for her phone, then stopped. If she had ever known the Owl's Point number, it was lost to memory. She could call her mother, of course, but she would rather drink paint thinner. It was 2 miles to the house, more or less, on a narrow and twisty lane. Teresa sighed. Then she slung her bag, walked past the coffee shop, bank, jewelers, and up the slope of Long Hill Road. "There is absolutely no need to go there," she heard her mother say, an echo of last night's argument. "He's asked all the grandchildren," Teresa had replied, though Miranda knew that. "Kenny and Audrey and James have agreed." "That's their choice. You can make a different one." "Mother—" "Whatever he wants to say, he can put in a letter or a telephone call." "Do you know what he wants to say?" "For goodness sake, how would I know that?" "Because he's your father?" Miranda treated the fact as an accusation, and the conversation went downhill fast. Trudging up the steep and tree-shrouded lane, Teresa pictured her mother in the West Village apartment, bought when there was still family money, tending her exotic roses or painting in her studio, flitting about in those bright Indian shawls with her artsy friends, clueless about the real world. "Stop," Teresa said aloud, only the trees as witnesses. "Just stop. Stop being angry with your mother, with everyone."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?